This is Andy Purewal for Boxing Social in association with Betfred, and I'm delighted to be joined by Adam Smith over Zoom for what I believe is the third week running during fight camp. Adam, how are you doing?
Third week running, probably in the same room. I'm doing okay, thanks, Andy. Been a real experience. This, sort of locked away in the fight bubble for most of August, but it's been fun. It's been a challenge. It's been different. The fighters have embraced it. They've been wonderful to sort of to have access to. We've had terrific sort of and pretty much unlimited access to the fighters because they're around and they'll go and sit in their rooms, but everybody's working towards Saturday night, and it's almost like being a sort of bit of a build up to a big event every week. It's not, obviously this is a huge week in terms of it's a Sky Sports box office event, huge main events, but every week it's been a bit like sort of the fighters have been treated almost like rock stars. They've been photographed, they've been interviewed, they've had all the sort of the same treatment, and whether you're sort of top of the bill or lower down, and I think everyone's really enjoyed it. So it is a bit surreal. The corridors are tight, the space is not great when there's a bit of rain, but we've made the most of it. There's been games of cricket, there was a couple of gatherings last night, which was good, and it's really nice to see sort of the different training camps all sort of getting on, and we're all in a business, but boxing's a small fraternity, and I think people have missed it since lockdown, and everybody's really enjoying the fact that you've got plenty of time to talk fights, to talk boxing, to talk what we love. So it's been great, and you're getting the nuggets in here this week as well, the little stories, the little things that maybe you wouldn't get, say, if you're in Manchester or New York or Vegas or something, and everyone's off in their own directions, and you see them maybe at the press conference at the weigh-in. This time you're bumping into a who's who down the corridors. So it's different, but it's been a real experience, and I think Eddie and I will both take a lot of learning from it. I think Matchroom's organisation has been super. It's been smooth. It's been efficient. They've done fantastically well, and I think we've all worked really closely with. We've had a partnership that goes back longer than I've been at Sky, Matchroom and Sky. But I think these last few weeks particularly have been really bonding, and I think that together the clever people behind the scenes have got this operation up and running, and fight camp's been a massive success. There's been some terrific fights, memorable nights. It looks great, and I think we saved the best till last.
Let's come on to the one which you've described it, the best till last. Whyte-Povetkin card this coming Saturday pay-per-view. Talking about the headline fight first and foremost, Adam. With one thing which I've seen over social media, some people kind of seem to be writing Alexander Povetkin off, saying he's wrong side of 40, coming into just these twilight years now. Do you think that this will be as easy a test as what some people think for Dillian, or what do you expect Alexander to bring into the bout?
I mean, that's a big question, and it's also a question of sort of whether Dillian is going to be better than he was out in Saudi. Both of them had poor performances on that AJ Ruiz 2 night. I thought Michael Hunter beat him that night, and I think that he showed a lot of guts and determination after a terrible start. But he's been around a long time. But what he hasn't lost, A, is his power, and B is his mentality, and he's so focused. He believes this is another opportunity to go and fight for a world title, and he's dangerous. We know what he brings. He's only lost to 2 men as a professional, and they were Vladimir Klitschko at the height of his powers on points, and Anthony Joshua, and in a fight where Povetkin had a cracking start, and Joshua got to him and stopped him in a very good performance. So it's difficult to sort of assess him. I don't think he looks like he's 40. I think he looks a lot younger actually, and he looks in great shape, but the timing could be right for Dillian. Dillian, I think it's not quite so much what Povetkin brings. I think we sort of know what we're going to get with Povetkin. He's going to be tough. He's going to be dangerous while he's in there. He's got a huge left hook, and he's very, very savvy. But I think it's more about Dillian. Dillian has, he was lackluster, wasn't he, in Saudi last time? A lot of issues behind the scenes. I think we can forgive him for that because he's taken on all tests, hasn't he, since AJ, going in with the likes of, Chisora a couple of times, and Joseph Parker and Oscar Rivas, got overlooked really, that big performance against Rivas. Lucas Brown when he was unbeaten, and he can not just punch Dillian, but he finds a way to win. What I like this time is that he's been out in Portugal. He's been sort of locked away in a training camp. He's come back. He seems happy. He's been relaxed this week. He's the same old Dillian and the sense of humour, but he looks good, and he looks like he says he's matured a bit. He says that he's He feels comfortable. He's lost a lot of weight since Saudi. Looks great. So I think it's, he knows how big a night this is for him. This is a chance to make a statement. This is a chance to try and, maybe stop Povetkin quicker than Joshua did. AJ's our guest. He's there on the night. There's a bit of spice there. So there's pressure on Dillian, as there always is. But, he's so close to that world title shot, or that holding the world title, that, he can't mess this up. And, I think he'll take this. He's taken Alexander Povetkin very seriously. He's looked at the best Povetkin. He's taken the tapes back and looked at the very best Alexander Povetkin from the amateurs and the pros. They've done their homework. Yes, the loss of Mark Tibbs is possibly an issue. Who knows? We don't know until fight night. They brought Dave Colwell into the camp as well, which I think is good for the night, to have that extra pair of eyes. But Povetkin looks fantastic. We've heard him, thudding away on the punch bag at night. There's no secrets in here. He looks in cracking shape, and he sees this as his ticket back to the big time. But I think that timing will be on Dillian's side for this. And so I don't see it as easy. I don't think Dillian takes easy fights. And I would never say Alexander Povetkin's an easy opponent. I think he's a tough challenge. But I think, the timing you sense favours Dillian. But, Povetkin is going to be dangerous in there as long as he's in there. I think it's going to be an exciting fight, and I can see a knockout.
The WBC confirmed that Dillian will face the winner of Wilder Fury 3 when that takes place once again. Is this fight just a matter of, for Dillian, making sure he gets the job done, or making a statement to show everybody that he not just belongs there, because he's had a very tough and tricky run of bouts over the past couple of years, but to make a statement to kind of put everybody on notice that he's coming for those titles?
I think Dillian's picked up a lot of following, hasn't he? Ever since the Joshua fight. I think people weren't quite sure about him beforehand, and had all the bad blood. But, the performance he gave that night, and, the fact that he's gone on and taken test after test, challenge after challenge, he deserves his opportunity to fight, Joshua again, or Wilder, or Fury. He deserves that. And people want to see that, I think Tyson Fury against Dillian Whyte's a big fight. I was asking Frank about that, last week. They don't seem interested. They want the Joshua fight, but I think that is a big fight. I think any of those combinations are big. Obviously we've got Joshua fighting Pulev at some point later in the year, we think, and Wilder against Fury. But any of the sort of round robin is attractive, isn't it? We know that Joshua and Whyte are going to provide a great fight for the third time, once in the amateurs, once in the pros. We all want to see Joshua Fury at some stage. Obviously, that's a way ahead yet. But if Dillian's, fighting for the world title next, then unless Tyson gives up his belt, it's got to be Fury. If not, and Fury does give up the belt, then maybe it'll be Joshua who'll want to, unify. And, we don't know. I think you've got to get Saturday out of the way. But it's a good question, Andy. Does he just want the win, or does he just want the statement? I think he needs the statement this time. I think he needs, he beat Rivas in a tough fight. He beat Chisora in a tough fight. Yeah, he got the knockout at the end. But I think, if there's anything, if Dillian Whyte could look in a crystal ball and say, how would this end? It would be, within 6 rounds by spectacular knockout. And I think if he could do that and be the sort of first big heavyweight out of the block since lockdown, I think that does send a message. And I think people want to see these fights, and, that we want to make them. We want them to happen. So, there's a lot of politics. There's a lot of difficulties. But in my opinion, Dillian Whyte should fight for a world title next. This is an interim belt. Maybe if Tyson does give up, then he'll be made into the full WBC title. Who knows? In a way, that'd be a shame, because I'd love to see the Fury-Whyte fight. But I think Tyson wants Joshua. I think Joshua wants Tyson. And, they have got the Wilder and Pulev situation ahead. So there's a lot of ifs and buts and maybes. What we do know is that Whyte and Povetkin get in that ring on Saturday night, and it should be fireworks. I mean, it's going to be it's a cracking match, because they're two heavy hitters and two really good fighters. So let's enjoy this one, because we know it's been made.
Dave Caldwell teaming up with Dillian for fight night as well. Just kind of elaborate or further your opinions on that for me. What did you make of their team up?
Xavier Miller is just he's a pretty inexperienced trainer, certainly at this sort of level. And I know they've been together for a couple of camps, and he was under sort of Mark Tibbs as well. But the Mark Tibbs situation is not ideal, and it's he's got to move on, Dylan. He's got to have someone in his corner. He trusts Xavier. He says this guy is great. He's He's brought amateurs through. People just don't know enough about him. But I think, look, Alexander Povetkin is a very seasoned and experienced campaigner. This is a crucial night for Dillian Whyte. I think they made a really good decision. I'm very close to Dave Caldwell. Obviously, he's a friend, a colleague, but more than anything, he was a fighter, a manager, and a top trainer. And he knows boxing inside and out. There's very rarely a time where Dave and I won't sort of talk about a fight. We won't think the same sort of way, or I'll say, did you think we got that right? We scored that right. And very, very rarely, do I see something very different with Dave. I like the way he thinks. He's very knowledgeable. He's obviously been in with David Hayes' camp. He's trained Tony Bellew. He's had time with Chisora. There's so much heavyweight experience there. And not just that, it's big fight experience, and it's dealing with different stages as well. And I just think just to have that second, pair of eyes in the corner is really important. And should anything, start to become really problematic, Dave is there to try and see Dillian through. And I think it's a really good move. I'm not sure what Dave thinks about coming back in the bubble, because he's been in here a couple of times and now he's got to come in again. But listen, it's all good, isn't it? And I think it just adds a little spice to the story. We're not going to get any needle between Whyte and Povetkin. I don't think that's going to happen. They're both very respectful of each other. Povetkin's a man of few words. He's a good guy. He's just cracking on with his own career. He's got his family life outside, and I don't think there's going to be any fireworks out of the ring in the bubble. Although Dillian has obviously got the motorhome, the Winnebago, just in case. But I don't think that. I think it's going to happen on the night. I think everybody knows that what you're going to see on Saturday night is a quality matchup.
Moving on from that one and on to Taylor Pursuit, to another fight which many have been looking forward to since the first bout took place. Whenever you have rematches, or when you have Eggington Cheeseman, where the two styles will just gel well and they should deliver, it does bring that added pressure for them to do so. Is this fight kind of destined to live up to what we saw in New York on the Ruiz Joshua one card?
You're right. The New York fight was an absolute cracker, wasn't it? And really, it got overshadowed by what happened later that night with Andi Ruiz. But it was a fantastic fight, and that 10th round, one of the best rounds of women's boxing I've ever seen, and one of the best rounds of boxing I've ever seen. I mean, the two of them were absolutely terrific. And, there was controversy. A lot of people thought Katie lost that. And, Katie wanted the fight straight away, but, she went another route to Linda Dartu. And I think Delphine Bassoon, in tears afterwards, felt she would never get the opportunity again. She's got another life. You've got to remember with Delphine is it's different for her. This is like a break for her. She's an inspector in the Belgian police force. This is a hobby for her, really. It's a very good hobby. She's done exceptionally well. She's won 44 of 46. She had a great career in judo beforehand. She's a woman of many talents, Andy, and she's a great character. And look, she's got nothing to lose. She never thought this would happen. She's looked in fantastic shape here. She's awkward. She's strong. She's not in Katie Taylor's league in terms of boxing ability. We know that, but it just drags more drama. And I think they have got pressure on their shoulders. Certainly Katie has, because of the last couple of weeks. We had an absolute barn burner with Natasha Jonas and Terry Harper. Then you had the upset last weekend with Jessica McCaskill, becoming a world champion. What a great story that was. One of Katie's old foes, and breaking the long, long run of the wonderful Cecilia Brackhouse. And now you've got, you also had last week, you had Rachel Ball and Shannon Courtney at a lower level, but what a great fight too. So there is something to live up to. I think people are just enjoying it. They're enjoying great boxing, and that's what the ladies are providing at the minute. And I can't see anything but another, terrific spectacle on Saturday. Will it be as raw and as hard and as exciting? I don't know, because Katie Taylor won't want that. Katie Taylor will want to use her speed, her legs, her movement, and make this a more comfortable night. And she'll want to just tick off the rounds, round by round. For her, it's not about making a statement. For her, it's about the win. It's about the victory. It's about a clear victory. And she doesn't believe she lost in the Garden. Many people do, but she doesn't. And she believes that she can show her true. She was disappointed with her performance, but she believes she can show her true class this time. Delphine Bassoon, absolutely nothing to lose. She's going to be in her face all night. I think it's going to be a really, really hard night's work for Katie Taylor again. You'd have thought maybe the class might get her through this time on points, but who knows? Delphine is hitting hard. She's looking the part, and it's a golden opportunity. And someone was saying to me last night that the odds are very heavily in favour of Katie Taylor, and people are saying they're mad. Have you seen Delphine this week? So I don't know. It's a very, very close one to call. It's a fight that I was desperate to try and get Eddie and Brian and Team Pursuit to agree on when the Serrano fight fell through. I've gone on record of saying that, you know, I think this is the fight that Katie Taylor needs for her legacy. I think it's the fight that she needed after a long training camp and a lot of time in Connecticut to get her up, you know, when the Serrano fight fell through. But it's a dangerous one, you know, and look, if she loses, and there'll be a third fight. It's a trilogy. It's a story, you know. She wants to fight the best. She believes she's going to be remembered as the best woman boxer ever to lace them up. You know, in the amateur world, she certainly is. In the professional world, she's, you know, got every chance. But she's got to get that victory on Saturday night, and it's not going to be easy.
Moving on from that and on to Clay Congo. That fight, it's kind of, from when it was announced before lockdown, it's always kind of maintained that level of anticipation for it. A lot of people are excited to see that. Once again, it should produce a very good fight. I was doing a couple of interviews yesterday, and people were saying it won't be one which will, you know, be a barn burner way Eggington Cheeseman was, but it'll be one for more of the purists who enjoy kind of the technical side to boxing. Do you anticipate it will be like that?
Actually, I was debating with Andy Scott, who's not sure what kind of spectacle it will be. He was saying that, yeah, it might be a bit of a chess match, whatever. I think they're two highly talented guys who have been a bit lost in their careers. Certainly, it's a fight when it was made that got real rip through the trade. You know, everybody loved it. Genuine 50-50 fight. Clay with momentum, with a little bit more, you know, professional experience and know-how, but Congo with all those amateur fights and, you know, just sort of almost like failed on his early promise. So this is a real chance for him. He's looked pretty confident this week, Congo. You know, they're both probably edgy and nervous because it's a fight, a little bit like the Katie Taylor situation. It's a fight that they both really need to win. So, you know, it may not be the most dramatic, but I think it will be high skills. I think it will be close. And I think it's a fascinating one because you can't pick a winner in this one. And that's what we want to see. So, you know, all through the card, we've got really good fights. There's only 5 of them, but they're 5 excellent matches. And I think this is another one. And I'm really excited about it. You know, they've got the winner's going to go on to pretty good things in that welterweight division, I think. And I'm interested to see if, you know, Congo can live up to that talent and natural ability, or whether Clay is one of these guys that, you know, has just sort of done it the hard way, and that's going to, you know, hold him in good stead, and he's going to be a sort of slow burner, and maybe this is the stage for him to explode onto. What a night for both of them, you know, something that they, you know, they were going to fight, you know, earlier in the year. This is a different scenario, and they're probably quite relieved that there's not the tickets to sell and there's not that distraction. They can just focus on the job in hand. So that's what I've noticed, Andy, that all the fighters are absolutely zeroed in. You know, they're so in the zone, and they're mentally and physically in such great shape, all of them, because they haven't had that worry of sort of, you know, will the fight happen? Because, you know, once the sort of COVID tests are passed and everyone's in here, it's very unlikely that there's going to be some sort of late drama, you know, physically. Okay, we had one with Akib Fiaz the other day, but that was a freak occurrence. I don't think that's going to happen. I think they'll all hold up, and, you know, that's one of the worries on Fight Week, obviously, that, you know, obviously you want them to make the weight and all that, but you've got a couple of heavyweight fights on the bill, so that's a sort of, you know, less thing to worry about. You think everything's going to stand up fine, and hopefully it will. So they don't have to sell tickets. They don't have that pressure of the crowd and sort of who's looking at them. They can just get on there, do their business. It's a big fight for the pair of them, and I'm really looking forward to it.
Just want to quickly touch on one more fight on the card before we just reflect on last week. Babic Winters. I did an interview with Alan a couple of days ago, and he seems a character. Is the best way to describe him. What's he been like to be around this week?
The savage. He's mad. He's brilliant, isn't he? You know, he's a bouncer, isn't he, in his spare time? And you wouldn't want to argue with him. I mean, he's you know, he loves sparring. He just wants to spar. Ruben Tabarez was saying there's no point even thinking about conditioning for him because he just wants to spar every day. You know, it's great. It's great for the sport. He's unbeaten in 3. How good is he? We don't know. We take Dillian's word for it that he could make a real impression here. He's in with a tough guy, you know, a guy that's basically, he's talented. Winters, he's got that ability, but we just don't know whether he can put it together. You know, he didn't manage to do that against Joseph Parker, but that was a big step up. A couple of upsets on his record. You know, you're just not quite sure. It's a test, this, for Babic. So it's a good heavyweight fight on the card. Another good one at its level. It could be an education. It could be a scare for Babic. We don't know. So it's one I'm really looking forward to. And then you're kicking off with Jack Cullen as well. You know, Little Lever's Meat Cleaver, best nickname in boxing, and he always provides value for money, doesn't he? And I'm looking forward to seeing young Zach, seeing if he's got ability as well, and so that's another interesting match. Colin moving up to super middleweight, and the father and son team, and I think it's got it all Saturday night. I can't wait for it.
Just to go back to last week then, Adam, because I know you're going to shoot off in a minute. Felix Cash with an impressive victory over Jason Wellborn. Just somewhat kind of that night for me, and obviously Felix's victory.
I thought it was a really good night. So I didn't commentate last week. I sat with Eddie and Frank to sort of see the other side, and I went to the changing rooms, and it was just a different sort of way to see fight camp. And I really enjoyed it. It was eerily quiet, actually, when you're sort of not got the cans on and you're commentating. It was really quiet. And, the one or two sort of shouts from ringside from the people fortunate enough to be there, but it's very quiet. I thought it was a fantastic night. I really did. I really enjoyed it, actually, watching it in a different way. The doc starting us off. Had difficulties at the beginning with his range against Fox, but he got the job done well. Then you had that fantastic fight between Conway and Mansouri. Really good action. Neither the biggest punchers, so you knew it was going to be a long fight. But Mansouri was really competitive. Just Conway, just a little bit fresher, wasn't he, and a little bit more momentum probably there. The women's fight again, we've mentioned it earlier. A lot of people thought Shannon Courtney deserved it, had come back from that knockdown in the first round. But it was a really close fight. Rachel got it, and they can do it again. Shannon was devastated, distraught afterwards, but look, it was a great fight, and we'll just get it on again. And we want to see these really good fights. Then you had Eric Donovan, taking charge over Zelfa Barrett, and you thought he looked fantastic. He was boxing beautifully, but he is a featherweight, you're starting to get caught a little bit, and Barrett turned it all around. So that was dramatic and, really good fight. And then, Cash Wellborn, I always fancied Cash to make a bit of a statement. So it wasn't, it was the manner of victory. I think Jason always tough, but, probably now seen better days. And Felix Cash was fantastic. He loved his ring walk. And I thought top to bottom, it was probably the best fight camp of the lot. We've had the two main events were better in 1 and 2 with the egg and the cheese and Harper and Jonas. But, top to bottom. But I think Saturday night will eclipse it. I think all of them will be good fights. I think there'll be knockouts. I think there'll be drama. I think there'll be real entertainment. And I think, it's a really good Sky Sports box office. Our first for the year. And it's the biggest night in boxing since Fury Wilder in Vegas. And it seems a long, long time ago, that, doesn't it?
Just very quickly, Felix Cash on the back of that victory. Where does he go from here? What do you think he has lined up next?
I mean, Felix Cash is a really good fighter. That middleweight division. I mean, he can. I don't know how far he's going to go in the sport. Could he become a world champion? Possibly a bit too early to tell. European level, that might be the next step. I wouldn't rush Felix because he's had injury problems. He's had a bit of inactivity. I think he needs to keep busy, and it's so difficult with this period at the moment, the pandemic, and you just don't know when you're going to go back in a ring. But it was a comfortable victory for him on Saturday, so I like to see him out fairly quickly. He's a good-looking fella. The girls like him. There's a lot to go on with Felix Cash, and he's exciting to watch. So he's got a good training, good camp behind him. Great promotional team, great ring walk music. I like him. And, he's maybe not caught the attention like some of the others have, but I think people are starting to talk about him now. And I like to see him go from strength to strength. Keep busy, keep that momentum. And, look, he's got power. He's got the looks. Could he become a star?
Final question, Adam, just away from the cards. We saw a couple of days ago the WBC ordered Canelo Yildirim. What was your thoughts on that? There was a lot of excitement about, obviously, Billy Joe was originally going to have the fight. I mean, talk about Callum Smith. Callum's been in the rankings for as long as I think anybody can remember as well. What was your thoughts on Canelo Yildirim being ordered?
Disappointing, flat, like everybody else. I want to see Canelo in with the big fight. I want to see him in with Callum. I want to see him in with Billy Joe, with Golovkin. We want him in the big fights, so it's really, really difficult. We're not in the Canelo business, are we? But we're sort of fans, and we sit there and we just think, please, can he be in the absolute humdingers? That's what we really want. We want him in the mega fights. He's a great fighter. I was lucky enough to commentate on him, fighting Danny Jacobs, who's another elite fighter, but Canelo had the better of him that night. And you want to see Triple G again. There's a lot of money, DAZN, Golden Boy. There's a lot of issues over there, and the difficulties with the lack of gate and the finances, which brings us back to this Saturday, which is why it's incredible that Matchroom, that Eddie has managed to get these big fights without a gate. Whyte-Povetkin in a garden Taylor and Pursuit, you know, last time it was in front of thousands in the iconic Madison Square Garden. Now it's in front of not even 100 in you know, in Eddie's backyard. It's bizarre, and it's a weird thing, but at the same time, it's fantastic. We've got some big fights on, because I think that's the problem. You know, we all want to see the really, really big fights. We talked about the heavyweights. You know, what about Joyce and Purewal? We want to see that. Is that going to happen? Does that need crowds? You know, all these big fights. Canelo, we want to see. Is it going to happen in September? Highly unlikely. So no, we want to see great fights. You know, PBC have got a decent schedule, top rank. Everyone's trying their best. But if you look at it carefully, there's not a lot of great matches out there for the elite fighters. That's the problem. I like Gervonta Davis, Santa Cruz, for example, but you know, Errol Spence against Garcia, you know, it's okay, but it's not the big one you want. It's not him and Crawford. It's, you know, maybe Kell Brook will get a chance against Terence Crawford. Maybe that's a possibility. But, you know, you want to see big fights come now. And, you know, all these ones you talk about for years, the Khan Brooks, you know, the ones that get away, you know, you just need those. But the problem is the finances. These fights need gates. And until that happens, it's going to be really hard. But, yeah, let's enjoy Saturday. We've got it. It's a fantastic night, and it's big time boxing, isn't it? And it's big time boxing at a time where it's tough to get big time boxing, but we have the sport back. We need a bit more patience. Hopefully, get the crowds back in the coming weeks and months, and we get back to some sort of normality, and we get those huge nights again. But this is a cracking start, isn't it? Fight camp's been fun. It's been adventurous. It's been different. It's been innovative, and as Delphine keeps telling me, it's the cherry on the cake. That's what we're going to get on Saturday night. She said, all I want is those belts back. That will be the cherry on the cake. And I think this will be the cherry on everyone's cake for Saturday night. I think it will be a great way to finish. Expect fireworks, expect drama, expect some great fights. And, you know, it's a fitting finale to what's been a huge operation, and in my opinion, a massive success. And it's great that Frank's promoting on BT. They used your call the other day. Terrific to see Carl Frampton, Michael Conlon back and getting victories. Boxing's back. It's great to see. But I cannot wait to be sat in Matchroom Square Garden for the final time for now on Saturday night. Next time will be maybe a dinner with Barry and Eddie to look back at it. But it's a great use of space. It's been a terrific innovation. Don't miss Saturday night, because I think we're going to get some absolute firecrackers.
Adam, it's been a pleasure to catch up with you. I will leave you now to shoot off to a press conference, which I know will start shortly. Thank you for your time, and thank you for speaking to Boxing Social.
Always a pleasure, Andy. Take care. See you soon.